Welcome to Pod Against Evil Interview Edition. I'm, of course, your host, Nick, the Merc with a Mic, and I am here with a very special guest. For Pod Against Evil, he is the most evil character on Stand Against Evil, or at least in my opinion. He's a real mean guy, for sure, but I'm sure a very nice guy in real life. Let me introduce you to Randall Newsome. Say hi, Randall.
Hello, everybody.
So, Randall, you play Constable Eccles on Stand Against Evil, correct?
Correct.
So, I love Constable Eccles.
Tell me why.
He is so gleefully evil. He is like such... I love his little laugh, and your laugh right now is reminding me of it, and it makes me feel like I'm about to be cursed for over 100 years.
Yeah, well, maybe you will be.
It would be fitting on one level. I'd be like, oh man, wouldn't that be good for the show? Like, I would really get into the mindset of one of these witches/demons that has been cursed by this guy. But yeah, you are one of the only actually recurring villains on Stand Against Evil. And my first question to you is just kind of how did you come to the show, and how did you come to be this evil constable?
I came to the show through an audition that I did actually in my New York apartment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hadn't met anybody from the staff. I'd not met Dana or any of the producers, or I was familiar with the casting department, but I'd gotten a note saying, would I audition for this? I said, of course. So they sent me some script pages, and they'd already done, I think they had been doing a search. So perhaps this was the second pass of looking for somebody. And, I think they were looking for something that was sort of an American, kind of stoic, kind of a man that is. I didn't get the impression they were looking for anything other than sort of. They said don't be funny was the main direction. Don't be funny.
Oh, okay. And
I had no idea about. I'm not thinking about I knew that it took place in oldie timesy times, like, late 1600s, because my character was originating supposedly in the Pilgrim period, or original witch hunts. And I had just seen, for the second or third time, because I love this movie, The Grey, with Liam Neeson, directed by Joe Carnahan.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Yeah, I just love it. And maybe maybe I haven't seen it 3 times, maybe only 2. And I had just seen it, and I'm looking at these script pages. I thought, you know what? Because I love playing with dialects and where the people come from and who's the guy. And then I thought, okay, I think I'll make a choice to do Liam Neeson as a pirate.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it came from. And I shot this audition off, this video, that night. And the next day got the call that it was going to happen, and my schedule was free. So I said, this looks really fun.
No, I just can't get it on my head. Liam Neeson with a pirate.
Liam Neeson is a pirate.
I've got a particular set of skills.
So it kind of worked. I mean, and I was thrilled because I love this stuff, and I, maybe because I've been playing for some reason, who knows why. Maybe because my eyebrows are starting to look more sinister, but I've been playing more bad guys lately, and I have no explanation for it, but sometimes it just happens. So I thought I'll roll with it, and it's been working out. So that's how I got started. That's how I got invited to do the show, and I show up doing my Liam Neeson pirate voice.
That is fantastic. I love it. Obviously, Constable Eccles is the returning villain. He's the one that seems to be responsible for pretty much all of the events plaguing our heroes. Would you explain, what's your thought process on portraying Eccles? Like, where do you think Eccles is at mentally? Like, how does he view himself in this story of his?
Well, to be honest, it's sort of, I kind of take it, episode by episode, because
Sure.
there's all kinds of turns and shifts in the history and the mythology part of it and the logic. They've built the rules of the show, which is, mashing up this horror with comedy. And Dana and the writers have created this sort of world, but sometimes the rules get broken, and and that's because, that happens in storytelling all the time. So if I start making decisions about, oh yeah, this is what I did, and this is what the guy has done, this is why I decided to kill all these witches, 400 years ago or whatever, and then I'll have some kind of, some dialogue that's like, all right, I gotta rethink this about. So I just admit to you that sometimes it just changes. But the one thing that sticks in my mind in playing some of this stuff is when Dana just suggested that. And I always thought it was fun, but when I heard it come out of his mouth to say, "This is." I'm enjoying this, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to get them because I hate them. Like, no, it's fun. Mm-hmm. And my background is varied, as I came from the production side of film and television before I became an actor. But in between, I joined the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. I was a clown with Ringling Brothers for a while. Wow. And I learned with my brethren in clown with Ringling is that we made our goal was to make the entire planet a sandbox, a playground. So when Dana said, make it fun, and then immediately, I just realized, oh, right. This is fun. Because everybody wants to have fun, and a bad guy doesn't think he's a bad guy. A bad guy is doing it because he has to, and it's fun. So that just sort of to answer your question in long-winded fashion. That's the whole idea. Is like, all right, I'm doing this to Evie, I'm doing this to Stan, and boy, is this fun.
Yeah, if there was a particular character trait I would describe Eccles as having, it would be constantly amused.
Yes.
That seems to be his lane of just no matter what happens.
I hope so. I hope that comes through.
Absolutely. You mentioned your previous experience behind the camera as AD on some films, including one of my favorites, Tremors.
Yeah.
Which, oh my goodness, I love Tremors so much, and also Primal Fear. Would you actually like to describe how you transitioned from, going from behind the camera to in front of the camera in your acting career?
Yeah, well, it's only about 6 feet difference between the two, between being behind it, being in front of it, and it takes years. But I had a lot of support by the people that I had been working with in that other part of my life. But, there are shows like Tremors where I can look back on and remember specific days on it, specific moments. And I think about it a lot, when I'm the Stand Against Evil set, because so much of the effects are practical on that show. And on Tremors, except for the shots, and I'm pretty sure about this because it was a deal for us. And the CGI was kind of in its early stages, back in the late 80s, that most of everything we did, including the giant worm stuff, was all puppets. And sometimes it was all hands on deck, and we're all holding strings and sticks and making the Graboids move. But the CGI stuff, for the most part, was all just sort of the underground travel of the worms going through the earth. Even when they're flying across the ground and they're chasing one of the guys in the dune buggies or whatever they're in, and you see all that dirt flying up and cactus flying in the air. Those were barrels that we were pulling with like lawnmowers that had been, or motorcycles or something. We're pulling these barrels with these rubberized pieces of rubber that we put dirt and dust over. So that's actually just flying through the. We just roll camera on it and go. And so a lot of that is kind of the same with Stan. It's practical, and it's just some of it just seems so silly I just think it looks great. But a lot of that really reminds me of Tremors, and I bore these guys with Tremors stories on set. I know I do, but it's just a great memory. It's just a great memory.
Oh, of course. I love the practical effect work as well. You wouldn't happen to know what that actual orange blood stuff from the Tremors creature from the Graboids is actually made of? Because I've always been curious. Take that as a no.
Well, no, and you know what? I might send you a note sometime because I still have most of the call sheets from that show because I kept it. I kept a whole box of stuff, Tremors. Mm-hmm. And I'm certain, I can tell you for sure that the orange goo, before we exploded it, was wrapped up with prophylactics. Really? Yeah, we'd use rubbers to fill the stuff up and then tie a knot in the end, and then they would put over, set it on some type of small explosive. So when it blew up, it was breaking the prophylactic, and then the goo went everywhere.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. And I also was for a couple days, not the whole time, but I was Michael Gross's stunt double on that. Oh. So I got to do some of the stunts as well, but my primary position was, just coordinating the whole thing with the assistant director staff. But you know what? I know somebody who I can call to find out that'll know exactly what was in that orange goo was. It was probably something silly like applesauce and food coloring and, whatever it was. I'm sure it was silly.
Oh, sure. I've always loved those particular guts. I'm a guts connoisseur, if you will, in my horror stuff. So
you would have loved those guts then. You would have loved it.
I would have loved to get covered in those guts. But since you have so much experience in the production side of things, do you feel like that helps you in your acting, having that knowledge?
Yeah, because I think it affords me the ability to ignore all of it.
Okay.
Because I know what's going on. It's like, what's this guy with the stick? Or what's the lady doing? Are you holding this for? Why is the camera operator getting so close? I don't even think about it.
Oh, okay.
I just it allows me to ignore all of it except whoever's eyeballs I'm looking into for the scene. So I just feel super lucky. Plus, I had the best master class in the world. I mean, for those years, I worked with, for weeks with Walter Matthau and Sean Connery and Kevin Bacon and Christopher Lloyd and, like I was saying, Dabney Coleman and terrific actors that were, wow, mm-hmm. Some serious people that I just got to John Mahoney, even John McGinley. He and I did Highlander, terrible movie, but he was awesome. And we shot this down in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Highlander 2.
Oh boy,
which is
Highlander 2.
Perfectly awful movie. And he was just, I've always thought he was awesome, but he and I were both, younger fellas then, but that was a pain in the neck to make, but a super amount of fun and just a really bad movie.
Yeah, when it comes to Highlander movies, I actually have the Highlander rule of there can only be one, or there should only be one, really.
Yes. But that, and once your head separates from your neck, it's all over.
It's all over. Gosh, when your neck meets your... Oh, my goodness.
Before he showed up on the set, we were the entire crew, everybody, even the Argentine locals. We're all doing we're all talking to each other with our Sean Connery accents weeks before he showed up, and of course he gets there and we all stop, and then he left and we start them all over again. So.
Oh my god! I love any movie that has such a Scottish guy portraying a Egyptian Spaniard talking down to another Scottish guy.
Yeah,
I love Highlander so much. But you had a chance to work with Stand Against Evil. You had a chance to work with some pretty fantastic actors as well, including John C. McGinley and Janet Varney. Do you have any memorable experiences of working with them in any particular scenes?
Yeah, well. One of them, I think one of the first of the episodes I did in season 1, and it was a substantial scene with Janet, and she had gotten, she'd maybe bumped her head or something and was with the medic. And I think we did that entire scene, but, I know it was the Cajun man when I was portraying Cajun man.
Oh, okay.
Eccles sort of in disguise in the woods. And that was one of my first scenes, one of my early scenes. And we didn't get to play it with each other because unfortunately she'd gotten hurt. And so I think I was doing it to a tree, and okay. Dana was down the gully shouting her lines. And I hope I'm not giving away too many secrets, but yeah, we weren't able to play that scene together, but boy, they sure cut it together well.
Yeah, they sure. I mean, it's seamless. I until you just said it, I did not notice that before. So
a little bit of trivia that I hope it's not giving away anything too much. But the rest of it is just because I'm not there that often, and because I only come in little bits and pieces. A lot of my, I'm coming in the middle of the night, and they settle me into the set, and I do my thing at the burning steak, or I some late night scene in the kitchen with John. And I don't get that much time, but I just love even the moments that I have just sort of, just playing the scenes. I mean, they're in it immediately. I mean, immediately, they say roll camera and boom, they just they sparkle and they're fun and maybe the other thing that I think that is even they listen, and they listen to one another really well. That's one of the reasons I think the show works. I mean, you think that it's always I'm going to say this at you or say this at you, but they're both listening, and I'm just really fond of both of them, and yeah, and just they're super nice people to be on the set with.
Yes, we are fans of them over here as well. So you've obviously been on the set for quite a bit. You're one of the only recurring characters that's not part of the main crew. So you've spent a little more time on there. What would you say is a typical day on set on Stand Against Evil? What's that like?
Well, somehow, I guess because of our schedule, like with Eccles stuff, we'll mash together a couple things, some episodes, perhaps all in 1 or 2 days. So
sure.
I may not even see the typical day because, well, no, this would be typical because in this kind of television with this kind of schedule they're on, I mean, doing 8 episodes crammed into less than a month, I think. You're doing a thing where you're shooting part of one episode in a day and then later on a part of another episode. So that means that the wardrobe and makeup and special effects and stunts and everybody that has stuff to do that counts in front of camera that, we're keeping track of, continuity wise, they're all going, okay, where were we? Looking at the shots that they've taken on their iPhones. Okay, we shot this scene, the scene previous 2 weeks ago, and it had this on it. Okay, are the sleeves down? Or what color are the pants? Oh, we've got this much goo. They just came out of it. So you're always, they're always mad. And there's kind of, I wouldn't say it's frantic on that set, but they're very detail oriented. Mm-hmm. And they're smart on that set because everybody is keeping track of the little stuff because they're shooting so fast. I mean, when they're, me, I'm sort of, having a coffee and eating a donut while all this is going on. But, the crew is just it's serious and it's all packed into a, a lot of the schedule, because so much is at night and so much is in the daytime that the schedule might be split. Like they'll start at, 2 in the afternoon and go till 2 or 3 in the morning. So it's a day that's not a regular work day. Like we'd go to the office and start in the morning and end at night. I mean, some days are like that, but it's, you're having breakfast at, sometimes 4 in the afternoon. If you're going to be going through the night. Goodness. But there's so much detail because they're doing multiple episodes. But the other thing, probably more interesting than that, is there is such a great deal of humor on that set. Like people are funny. Like everybody is funny on that set. Everybody is sort of, and everybody supports each other's, and like I say, I'm not there a lot. I mean, I might be recurring, but I'm not part of the regular,
crew.
The crew, yeah, and I'm not there enough to like be, cause I sort of pop in and pop out, or I'll pop in and I'll pop out. So I don't get the real rhythm of it, but it's really obvious that they've become tight and they really enjoy each other's humor. And that it's just, and I think it shows in the product, that everybody's got good humor and they're happy to be there.
That's really nice to hear. I always like to hear people getting along especially on something that I love watching so much. I'm glad that people have fun making it. What would you say has been your most rewarding / toughest experience working on Stand Against Evil so far?
Sometimes, when, they turn that heat up and I'm standing there with the flames going and somebody tied to the stake, my real, and this is, it's because it's a big deal. You're playing with fire and the fire is real. And we're all reminding each other, like, let's be safe. I mean, nobody's in danger, but I'm always thinking, don't light my hat on fire. Sometimes I can be a bit of a klutz, or, the clown, the former Ringling clown part of me wants to go, hey, look, I'm, I can light my pipe with my giant match, and I'm standing there holding. Of course, I'm not going to do that, but I mean, I just don't want to light my my black pilgrim hat on fire, my black Eccles hat on fire. So I mean, that's not much of a fear, but it's what I'm thinking about all the time during something. So it's like I'm cautious, but that's something that just like. That's a thing. Like, it's my concern,
Mm-hmm. I would love to, knowing your Ringling background and just listening to a little bit of the performance, I would love if Constable Eccles just all of a sudden, just did a tumble roll and, had some seltzer water or something at some point.
Right, or before he burns somebody at the stake, he walks up and pies him in the face.
I mean, I feel like that probably won't happen, but I can dream.
No. Yeah.
Speaking of, so you will be returning for season 3, am I correct?
Yes, I am, and that's all I'm going to tell you.
Okay, so my next question was what could we look forward to without any spoilers? But obviously that's all pretty tight-lipped on that one. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask you instead: is there any other upcoming projects that you are involved with that you're excited about that you'd like to promote for the show? So we can see.
I'm sorry. No, you go ahead. I am in a really sweet, interesting film about a Scottish kid that visits family in the American South. It's called Dirt Road to Lafayette, and produced by Singer Films. I think also BBC Scotland may have had a part of it in some of the financing. A Scottish director named Kenny Glennon directed this, and it opened a couple weeks ago at the Edinburgh Film Festival. And I'm playing a musician in this, one of the friends of the family, and we shot in Lafayette, Louisiana for about a month and a half, I guess almost 2 months. And I think it's going to be released sometime later this year. Like I said, we just had it premiered at Edinburgh Film Festival. And what else is coming out? I shot the pilot of Gone Baby Gone for Fox and Miramax, but I don't think anything is happening to that right now. But
Gone Baby Gone's becoming a TV show?
Well, they ordered the pilot, but I'm not sure it's gotten picked up. If I had but it was a really, really good script by Robert Levine, based on the Dennis Lehane novels, directed by Philip Noyce. It was just a terrific script, but I've not heard anything on that. But I went right from that to Stand Against Evil, so I sort of had my head mainly in that. So, yeah, and right now I think that's it. With this will start to air. Stand Against Evil season 3 starts in when? End of October, something like that.
It'll be Halloween is when it's
right.
the first premieres. Yes.
All right, nice.
And I think the second season will be dropping on Hulu just a little bit before that. So that's always a good look forward out to. But also, listeners, you should definitely check out some of Randall's stuff. He's a great actor, and we love him on the show. Show him some support.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much, Randall, for taking the time to interview with me.
Oh, my pleasure, and thanks for. I want to thank everybody for watching the show.
Oh, absolutely. And until next time, see you later, Stand fans.